You're listening to a Soul One podcast.
All right, we are back with some movie reviews after another fun episode of fan questions. Taylor, we have a couple fan questions left over that we're going to get to today because you were telling me off air that your movie review won't be super long, so we have some time to hear from our fans again.
I don't know. Do you want me to tease what I'm reviewing, Mike?
Yeah, go ahead.
I am reviewing. I mentioned this a couple episodes back. This is a tough one for me to do. I had to Google it. Song Sung Blue.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I will be reviewing today. And it's one of those episodes it's one of those reviews that it's not a bad thing that it's short, but it's going to be short. Not a lot to say about this one, Mike.
Yeah, the movie I'm reviewing this week is Together. I have some things to say about it, but not too long either. This is one of the movies that I kind of missed that came out near the end of 2025. So I'm excited to talk about that as well. So we do have two movies to review this week. We've got some fan questions, which we'll kind of go through. And that'll be kind of it for this week. We have one fan question here that's really fascinating because this fan has a goal in mind, Taylor. So I'm going to read this really interesting email that we got here from the form fillable on the website. So this is from Riley S. So Riley has written in before, I believe. I don't see people's emails as much anymore because they all use the form fillable, but I do recognize Riley S. So I think we've had Riley write in before. One of my goals with writing in was I wanted to create some perfect chaos for your episode. I love the episodes where things just go off the rails really quickly and you're both kind of talking about one or two topics that you weren't meant to, and then you have to give the fans the time code of when your review begins. So I want to absolutely derail the episode with my fan question this week.
Perfect question for this episode, considering that the reviews are going to be short.
Yeah, this is great. We'll see where this goes. If you were forced to defend one universally hated movie as a misunderstood masterpiece for the rest of your life, which movie are you choosing? And what are your most unhinged arguments for why everyone else in the world is wrong? This is one of those things where it's like about a million Tyler Vance movies popped into my head. Of things that I
universally hated movie.
It's interesting because I think it would be hard for us to sit down and say what are like universally hated, because I feel like a lot of movies have major fans that follow them regardless. Like you don't get a lot of movies that everyone's just like, we all absolutely hated this movie. I'd be interested to see what are like the lowest rated movies on, one of those like Rotten Tomatoes or Cinema Critic Cinema or whatever that's called. That would be interesting to look at that list and see, okay, is there anything here that we would have to say, okay, how do we defend this?
Here's one, Mike, for you, because I just looked up a list.
All right.
Wikipedia has an article. I will say, like, I don't really know. We're this is gonna sound pretentious, Mike, but I think I can say this about you too. We don't really care what other people think. So this question is hard because, like, I don't really know what people universally hate. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So here's a list of the 21st century films considered the worst. I'm gonna skip down to a movie that people apparently hate, but I grew up with, and I find it quite good, although I haven't watched it in 20 years. The Master of Disguise, 2002.
Mm-hmm. You might have found that movie that a lot of people hate.
It's universally hated.
Yeah. I don't remember liking this either.
I know Who Killed Me is also on this list, and that's when Nicole and I saw in theaters, and we had a lot of fun watching it. I don't
Right.
know, like, in terms of, like, how do you defend the movie? I don't know, like, it's just fun, man. Like,
Yeah, to me, that's the sort of out with any movie that you feel is universally hated. It's you can just have fun with it. It's a popcorn movie or what have you. Was what I hear from a lot of people when I bash their favorite movies. That's just like, well, it's just fun. Or there's nostalgia, Taylor. We've talked about that a lot actually recently, of just sometimes the nostalgia of a movie or a TV show or something is enough to kind of pull you back in.
oh yeah, 100%. I my defense of Master of Disguise is that it's highly quotable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I remember having a lot of fun. Um, the question I also it feels like it almost presupposes we don't actually like the movie. We're just defending it to troll. So here is some recent ones that I know you absolutely hate,
Okay.
Mike. Um, or at least two. Cats 2019.
I can't defend that.
And
It's so bad.
can you defend? I know you can't, but I'd be willing to hear you out. Madame Web 2024.
Um, you know, okay. Madam Web is a movie that probably should have worked. Um, I think I do think it had in its core a decent cast. I think if you had replaced the villain with an actual real human being actor as opposed to whatever cardboard cutout they had playing that role would make a massive difference. Dakota Johnson, hit and miss in some movies. I do think she has talent. I think she makes sense as a young Madam Web. Sydney Sweeney, I think, is good. Uh, Isabella Merced has been in a bunch of movies. She's very good. Emma Roberts, Adam Scott. Honestly, I think if you had a real thespian actor as the villain, that would be step one to fix this. Because I think if you remember from my review, Taylor, I was complaining that all his dialogue seemed to be like terribly rendered, where the speech didn't seem to match his voice,
Yeah.
and his acting performance was so wooden and terrible. So that's number one. If you replace the director, you could do a lot of things. If I were to have to defend this movie as is, I couldn't do it. I would start by saying, well, its bones had things that could work. The story was kind of interesting. The way she sort of discovers her powers is intrusive and difficult, and it takes her a while to figure them out, which I think is good. They don't just quick to, oh, she automatically knows how to use these powers, and off we go. I think her relationship with the kind of three younger women who she's trying to rescue is good and interesting. So I think there's a few things I could pull out there. Again, most of my thoughts would be, well, you should change all these things, and then maybe we'd have a film that could be workable. So that one's really hard because it was so bad.
Here's what I'm also going to mention to you, Mike. I can't defend these movies. I can just tell you that um I don't maybe think they're as bad as people think they are. But again, it might be the nostalgia factor. When I tell you that I literally thought about this movie like 3 days ago, um it's insane that we're talking about it now. Biodome 1996.
Really?
It's been described as one of the best worst movies of all time.
Okay.
Alternatively described as almost unwatchably awful and a baffling piece of work. Kylie Minogue, who starred as the film as an oceanographer, called appearing in the film the worst decision of her career. I don't know. It's fun. Like whatever. And then
Yeah.
another
Wow.
and then Batman and Robin 1997 is considered very, very poorly made. But another
Yeah.
fun one. That's one that I watched growing up. So
Yeah, that is one that I think that one with a little bit of time, I probably would say I could find some defense
redeemable.
for. Yeah, like I feel like I could figure out enough to, like, if I was forced to debate on the side of that movie, I think I could do it. Yeah.
Oh, that's the one with Mr. Freeze. Again, like, I don't think it's that bad.
I mean, it's pretty bad, but I think I could find the good in that one. Yes, I agree.
George Clooney stated that he refused to let his wife watch the film, saying, "There are certain films I just go, I want my wife to have some respect for me."
Yeah, well, it's kind of fair. That's his performance was awful. That's harder to defend. His performance was really bad.
He's notoriously the nipple Batman, right? His suit had the nipples that everyone was like,
yes.
why?
Yes, his did. Yeah.
Classic. Yeah. Okay. There you go. We can't defend these movies, but we also are not going to tell you to skip them, except for Madam Web.
Yeah, that would be hard. Without changing everything, yeah, it would be very, very tough. Okay, so we've got a couple movies that we want to review this week. Taylor, do you want to begin with Song Sung Blue, based apparently on a true story?
Yes. This is one of those movies, I don't know if it was poorly, what's the word, Mike? Poorly, not distributed, promoted. Because I've been hearing things like people are saying, like, I thought it was a Neil Diamond biopic.
Right.
And I'm like, I didn't get that from the trailer, but I was texting Nicole about it when I first saw it and telling her I enjoyed it. And she was like, really? The Neil Diamond biopic? And I'm like, it's not a Neil Diamond biopic. So it is a biographical musical movie, and it is based on a true story. But Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson play Lightning and Thunder, which is a husband and wife duo from Wisconsin, Minnesota, right? Is Wisconsin?
That's the state of Wisconsin.
Like the
I don't know where from Wisconsin, but like Green Bay and a couple of
that area. So, and it's set in the late 80s, early 90s, and essentially it's in real life, this man and this woman meet and they form a tribute band to Neil Diamond. So that's where people are getting confused. Hugh Jackman isn't playing Neil Diamond. He's playing a Neil Diamond impersonator. And then Kate Hudson plays his wife, who is, in the band. She's not, as far as I know, like not, she doesn't impersonate a real musician. She's just like the supporting act in this band. She provides backing vocals and instruments or whatever. So this is one of those movies that probably the less you know about it, the better, because it is quite an emotional roller coaster, Mike. And I also think it subverts your typical music biopic. I know you have a lot of feelings about music biopics because you feel they're quite cookie cutter, we chart the rise and then something horrible happens to the musician and then it's like a redemption arc. This movie is like them, like rise, like everything is going so well. Like maybe 20-30 minutes in, Dan looked at me and he said, I hope this movie never gets sad. Like the first 20 to 30 minutes, so wholesome, so sweet, like it's just like a joy to watch. And then like something horrific happens in the movie. Not, I would say, something that if you don't know the story of the family, I did not see this coming. This movie, there was audible gasps from the theater twice. Like where things happen and you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. And then so, you have something horrible happen to them. There's sort of, I don't even think I wouldn't describe it as a traditional redemption arc. It's just more so, how is this family going to bounce back from this tragedy? And then that's kind of like, the second half of the movie, them, kind of rising again. I thought this movie was a joy to watch. Everyone that I've spoken to who have seen this movie, although they are middle-aged women demographically, but they have also all enjoyed it. So I thought that Kate Hudson and Hugh Jackman, they have great chemistry. I thought the supporting cast was super great. I thought that the writing was really well done. It was funny when it needed to be funny. It was sad when it needed to be sad. And in fact, that that first 20 to 30 minutes of like happy, happy, happy made like you're so invested in this family. It worked dramatically. So you know how sometimes we talk about how tonally movies feel like whiplash.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe with a less successful director or a less seasoned writer, it would have felt tonally whiplash, but in this movie it worked. You know, you got emotionally invested in this family. You're rooting for them all the way. This tragedy happens, and because you're rooting for them, it's so impactful. And then you're really rooting for their rise again. So I think this movie was super effective. I think it is what you would describe as a popcorn movie, Mike. Like it's not, it was well made, but I don't think this movie is necessarily going to be nominated for awards. In fact, this is a 2025 movie, so I don't think it is getting any buzz, but it's very serviceable. You know what I mean? Like this is like
Yeah,
when I
yeah.
reviewed Black Bag. These are the
Right.
type of movies that you don't really see very much anymore, where they're just, it's a very good movie. It's not like an Oscar winning performance. It's just a joy to watch, and it's a nice movie going experience, and I feel like this is a very good family movie. I wouldn't show this to younger children, but like because there are some like I said, like there's some, the family tragedy is like quite intense, but I don't know, like older, like 14-15 year olds all the way to grandma, like this is a movie you could watch in mixed company and I think everyone would enjoy. So it's a see it for me. I ended 2025 on a very high note. K-pop Demon Hunters, Knives Out, Song Sung Blue, all great movies to end the year and a great way to start 2026 if you haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, it's definitely sounds like one of those just kind of feel good movies. Pretty good, easy to watch. I didn't know much about it honestly at all, so this kind of came out of nowhere for me. But yeah, it does sound interesting. Like it sounds like it was a pretty easy watch, which is kind of right up your alley right now from what you were saying last
Yes.
episode. What you're looking for.
I will say, Mike, that it's being advertised as like the feel good movie of the year. It actually becomes, I think it would be more accurate to describe this movie as a drama.
Oh,
Like
really?
the first 20 to 30 minutes, you're like, wow, this is the feel good movie of the year. And then this horrible thing happens, and you're like, oh, wow, like this is quite depressing. I cried, and so
Oh,
did my mother
I
in law.
thought this was a comedy.
See, it's that's, I don't think this is one of those movies where I do not think it was marketed properly. It's being marketed as the feel good movie of the year comedy, and some people are thinking it's a Neil Diamond biopic when really it's a Neil Diamond impersonator biopic. So that to me says that however they're marketing it, they're not doing it correctly, because I would say 2/3 of the movie are quite tense. Like you're waiting for this family to make things work. And I would say it doesn't necessarily have the ending. It doesn't have an ending that a feel good movie would have. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
But without it
yeah,
spoiling anything. But still very, very good. I think it would be more accurate to call this a drama.
yeah,
Maybe like
yeah.
a
That's fair.
drama. What do they call that? Like drama comedy?
Yeah, dramedies.
A
But I mean,
dramedy?
most dramas that are effective have comedy in there
Yeah.
at some point in time. Like that's just a good way to get your drama across, make somebody laugh, get them kind of in a different headspace, and then hit them with the drama. So yeah, it's very clear. Yeah, that sounds great. I might actually check it out now based on your review. So my movie this week is called Together, which is kind of a horror romance body horror movie, starring Dave Franco and Allison Brie.
Married
This
in
is
real
one
life.
you married in real life. I don't know much about this director, Michael Shanks. I don't know what else.
The name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I don't know what else he's done, but that's the director of the movie. And I'll kind of go through very quickly the premise if people aren't familiar with it. So the film follows Millie, who's Alison Brie, who's a teacher, and her sort of longtime boyfriend Tim is played by Dave Franco. He's a struggling musician. So their relationship's kind of under this strain right from the beginning. You know that there's some issues here. They're having some problems in their relationship, and they're also planning a move from it's just a big city. I don't know if it's like New York, or I'm not too sure which city it is, but it's a big city to kind of a smaller town near the woods for her job. So they're moving, and right off the bat, pretty quick into the movie, this movie is good with pace. On a hike, they discover a cave. They drink some strange water from like a weird source, and soon they realize that anytime they kind of touch and make physical contact with each other, they start to stick together. And they also have this sort of compelling need to make contact with each other. At least it begins with Dave Franco, who seems to be the one who's kind of infected, and then eventually Alison Brie as well, where their bodies just get drawn together. So that's the premise of the movie. And I have to say, this is a very simple movie, but very effective. Like, I think you know what's going on from the beginning. You understand exactly what they're trying to do with this. I don't think it wastes any time. And it just kind of like leans into this premise in a pretty confident way. Like, it's not one of those movies that where you're like, oh, like, when do they, Taylor, you're waiting for like the incident to happen. Like, I know you're going to this thing. When are we going to get there? We spent 30 minutes getting there. This is like little preview of what happens when you drink this water, little backstory into who they are, get them out on the hike, get them into the incident kind of pretty quickly. So this movie doesn't waste time, which was really good. I'm not a huge fan always of body horror films. Like, sometimes they work for me, sometimes they don't. But as a body horror film, like, I thought this one built tension pretty smartly. Like, it wasn't relying on cheap scares. There were a couple like jump scares and a couple of kind of like moments.
It wasn't
there.
Gross for gross sake.
No, everything they did, and they saved it. Like, they saved the moments, which again is something that I could see someone sitting watching this movie saying, well, how are they going to stretch this premise for a movie? Like, it seems like once they start getting stuck together, like, how's it? But they do it pretty smartly. Like, it's not to me, it's not like cheap how they do it. They establish kind of some interesting rules that are around, Dave Franco's character has this kind of compelling need to be near Alison Brie more, and the more physical distance they put between each other kind of causes him physical pain. So we see a little bit of that at the beginning, but the mystery of what's going on is pretty contained. It's purposeful. It gets fully resolved by the end of the movie. So nothing feels like hand waved off or like dangling in front of you being like, here's a bunch of questions. You finish it feeling complete, not confused, and in a good way. Like, you're just like, oh, they answered the questions. I'm not confused to what was going on. That's simple, but done in an effective way. I could see this movie for some people easily dumping into like, oh, I didn't like this movie at all for these reasons. But I do think when a movie sets out to be simple, tells you kind of what's going on, and drives you along a pretty good script, well directed with good actors, they make it work. So I thought it kind of does do that. I thought the horror itself, connecting to their relationship, worked really well. Like, Alison Brie, Dave Franco, they sell this like emotional and physical frustration they have with each other. Dave Franco's kind of going through some personal stuff as well, and you kind of understand where he's coming from. You understand why they're struggling as a couple. You understand, once the kind of body horror stuff happenings, why that's like this, like, I don't know, literal manifestation of the emotional dependence that you have often in relationships, resentment and fear that can come from that. And this like kind of character study this movie was. It's almost about these two people rediscovering their love for each other and why they work in a couple. And it's just through the lens of this horror movie, which, Taylor, that's my favorite kind of movie. Give me a good character study with really interesting characters, and then I don't care what else happens. It's why I love the first Saw movie so much. It was such a good character movie.
You want your people to act how real people would act in real life. Did you find that these people were reasonable given their circumstances?
That's right. Yes, as Tyler Vance put it, I like adults solving adult problems like adults. Yeah. Yes, I think it was reasonable. Their frustration is reasonable. There's this really there's some good humor in here as well that had me laughing of, when you're trying to explain to yourself and each other why these weird things are happening. Could I be having a seizure? Could I be doing this? Like, all that is all realistic. Like, I think it all works. But, there's this scene where the first time they get stuck together, they were sleeping in this cave, their legs touched and they got stuck together and kind of had to peel apart, and it sort of hurt them. And Dave Franco kind of dismisses it, saying like, oh, like it's like mildew buildup or something that was connected between us. And later, when he's discovered that there's more sinister things here and he's trying to convince Alison Brie of that, she says, oh, but you said it was mildew. And his response is, what do I know about mildew? And it's just like, it kind of like,
that would happen.
That would happen. Like, that's exactly how you would kind of go about that. So yeah, I thought the movie, like, it moved so well. It didn't really drag for me. It maintained good momentum. The scene work was well. Like, the performances were really, really well done. I thought this was well directed. It's not a jump scare movie, I will say. If you're looking for a horror movie that's going to like just scare you out of your wits, that's not what it is. It's more about building tension. There's a couple scenes that I think does it really, really well. But this is very much about these two people. But it's just, I don't know, this movie was written and directed in such a like tight, controlled, confident way that it kind of worked for me for that. So like, it's a well-directed movie. It's well-written body horror it feels like restraint in the right way. It felt, when the body horror happened, it was never cheap. It was clear as to why it was happening. The premise was clear, strong performances, smart pacing, and a satisfying conclusion. So to me, it's a see it. Like, I think Together was a surprisingly good movie, as far as I was concerned.
I like both Alison Brie and Dave Franco. I think Dave Franco is probably the more, his older brother has been a bit blacklisted, but he's almost the more likable of the two, anyways, in terms of acting.
Yeah. And Dave Franco, I've seen performances out of him that are kind of similar here and there. So I think he's been hit and miss for me. He gives a good performance in this one. Like, he does everything he's supposed to. He's super solid in the role.
He just needs a strong director.
Yeah, and again, I don't know anything about this director, but it was well directed. It was well directed. It was well written. So.
I just looked it up, Mike. It's Michael Shanks' feature-length directorial debut. So the fact that he did so well and you enjoyed it so much on his first go, it'll be interesting to see what else he releases and what else he works on in the coming years. One thing that I want to mention, Mike, that I did not know how this was resolved, and it doesn't look like the Wikipedia article doesn't say what the end result was. So in May of 2025, the director Alison Brie, Dave Franco, the talent agency Neon, they were all sued in a lawsuit alleging copyright infringement on the 2020 film Better Half by writer-director Patrick Henry Pilon.
Interesting.
And essentially, the writer-director said, I pitched the script of Better Half to Dave Franco and Alison Brie, and they rejected it because they wanted who rejected an offer to star because they wanted to produce it themselves, and they wanted someone to hire a writer. So, and then the director denied the allegations, stating that he wrote and registered the first draft of the screenplay in 2019. So that seems like a pretty easy, you would just see who registered their screenplay first, yes. I think.
Well, and the fact that this movie got made, had a theatrical release, and I haven't heard about anything else follow-ups. That maybe that ended that conversation. Like, maybe it was simply like, yeah, like here's who registered first, and it was this person.
So yeah, I don't know, like we were saying, the Wikipedia article doesn't say if it was tossed out, who won, but I do remember that lawsuit allegation last spring, so that's interesting. It would be interesting to see how it holds up or compare the movie to the film Better Half. But it sounds, like you said, Mike, it's a pretty simple concept. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things. It's like when you have these two movies will come out in the same year where, because it's a pretty simple script, the scripts seem almost identical. Like, I can't, there's a Natalie Portman movie, and I don't know if it's Mila Kunis was in it, but essentially, like, released same year, it seems like identical movies. So sometimes, like, the story is just similar. Two people fusing, that seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah, and I think, sometimes people get an idea at the same time. And again, who knows? When these things happen, the truth might be somewhere in the middle where both of these people did have the idea at the same time. One did pitch to the other one. The person was like, no, I'm going to register mine because, I like my version better. Yeah. So, yeah, who knows? The fact that it got made tells you something because, that's from enough ago that in theory this would have been settled. But the movie did come out. It did happen. So, yeah, well, interesting to see if anything else does come of that. But regardless, for right now, it's a see it. It's a good movie. Maybe my mind will change if they all go to jail, Maybe I'll feel differently about it.
No, it's copyright infringement. It'll just be a big settlement.
That's true. It'll just be a big settlement. They can afford it. I'm always interested to see more out of, Alison Brie. I'd be interested to see more of this director. This was like a pretty small movie and it felt small, but in a good way. So yeah, I'm definitely interested to see more. So yeah, we'll see where things go from there. Just before we wrap up, Taylor, I just want to remind people about fan questions. Yes. We've been doing them now for a couple weeks, and we love hearing from our fans. You can go right now to soul1arts.ca, go under projects to the podcast tab, and just fill out the form. Quick and easy. All we just need is your name, email, and what question you want to ask. The email is just confirm you're not an AI robot. So we can have real people asking questions. So soul1arts.ca, you can go there and send in any questions and we'll answer them like we did today, like we did last week. Any questions about anything? And Taylor, we are not opposed to going backwards. So if somebody listens to something and says, oh, I want to talk about the movie you just reviewed, send in your thoughts anyway, and we'll just do a little recap and say, hey, let's go back to this movie and get your own thoughts on that. We're totally happy to do that as well.
Yeah, our listeners certainly don't feel constrained by time or space. We get asked to review movies we've never even seen. So
that's true. That's very true. Yeah.
Don't let anything hold you back.
Yeah, we're not also confined by time and space either. We just sort of exist in a weird vacuum of movie-related puns and discussions, which I think is fun because a lot of people comment that they like seeing us figure things out on air, which we do a lot. So yeah, we're happy to get your fan questions in any way about any topic. We will definitely read them out. And that's it for this week. We will have some more new reviews coming soon. We hope you check out some of these movies that we give recommendations. That is kind of the point. If you want to check out some of the movies we talk about and write in your thoughts, we'd be happy to hear from you. So thanks everybody for listening once again this week.
Go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me at Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. It is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soul1arts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Have Me at Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.